how do you appropriately time plastic surgery that you're planning to have in preparation for your wedding? So, first of all, congratulations. That's awesome. It's exciting. I know it comes with a lot of anxiety. And if you are planning plastic surgery, there are several things you can think about to minimize the impact of those procedures on your state of mind as you're going into your big day. So, what I'd really like to focus on here is timing. When you decide to have a plastic surgery procedure, especially with respect to body contouring procedures, two of the big things we see a lot of is arm liposuction and back liposuction for brides that really want to look just the right way in their wedding gowns. And typically, when we're talking about a liposuction procedure, I generally advise my patients that it takes about a week to 10 days for the initial swelling to subside. If we're using Vaser, there tends to be really a lot less bruising, and that's usually gone by a week to 10 days as well. So after about a week to 10 days, you no longer look visibly swollen. You go back to looking more or less like you did before your procedure. At approximately a month, you'll start to see a very nice change in your appearance. At about 3 months, in most cases, you'll start to see maybe 80% or so of your final results. By 6 months, you're really up to 80, 90%. And then over the last 6 months out to a year, you get to 100% of your results. So practically speaking, when we're planning liposuction, for example, for a vacation, so we look the way we want on the beach, I generally advise people to do their procedure about 3 months at a minimum before the trip. So that way, they're really starting to see some really nice changes, and they're going to be excited about wearing that new bathing suit. Planning for a wedding is a bit more complicated because we have to account for dress fittings. So instead of aiming at, say, 3 months before your wedding, I generally recommend that patients plan their procedure to be complete 3 months before they begin their dress fittings, because it's very hard to do a dress fitting if your liposuction treatment area is a moving target. The other thing to consider is scars. Liposuction leaves very, very small scars. They're usually about 2 to 3 millimeters. They tend to heal looking like freckles or very faint little marks. However, early on, especially weeks 4 to 6, they can appear fairly red. So when we do arm liposuction, in order to get really good deltoid definition, we often put a small scar right by the elbow. In the beginning, at weeks 4 to 6, that can be something that you might not want in your wedding photos. So that's another reason to leave yourself about 3 months before you're going to be taking any pictures to make sure your arm is looking the way you want it to look. The other thing to think about is a lot of people go on weight loss plans in preparation for their wedding. You definitely want to wait until you're at your goal weight and stable there before you have your plastic surgery procedure. And there are two big reasons for this. One, again, if you're rapidly losing weight or actively losing weight, the treatment area, again, is something of a moving target. It's hard for us to design the best operation if we don't know exactly what we're working with. The other reason to really wait until you're at your goal weight before you're having a plastic surgery procedure is that your needs at your current weight might be entirely different from your needs at your goal weight. On one extreme, you may not need the procedure at all anymore. So you might get to your goal weight and you might love the way your arms look, for example. On the other hand, if you lose a lot of weight and you lose it rapidly, then you might be at risk of having more skin laxity, and then you might want to have a procedure to address that skin laxity in preparation for your wedding as well. So when you're planning all of this, you really want to think about, if you're going to be embarking on some kind of a weight management journey, leaving enough time for that, and also leaving enough time to have your procedure such that it's at least 3 months before you begin your dress fittings.